Conflict. Noun. Origin, late Middle English from the Latin confligere, con meaning together and fligere meaning to strike. Literally, the word means a contest. In modern English, conflict has one primary definition and three secondary ones. The primary definition, a serious disagreement or argument. Secondary definitions, a prolonged armed struggle. A state of mind in which one person experiences a clash of opposing feelings or needs. And last, a serious incompatibility between two or more options, principles, or interests. ELMS is the Emerging Leaders in Ministry Summit, where experienced ministers from New Horizons Ministries educate, encourage, and empower our conference's next generation of ministerial leaders. So, why all this talk about conflict? In short, ministry is full of conflict. Regardless of your position in a church, there will be conflicts. These could be as minimal as the order of service, what songs to do, what type of trash bags to use in the bathrooms, to as complex as clashing ideas of discipleship, philosophies, and planning the fiscal budget. Now, conflict doesn't mean a fight, but it can. However, in most cases, conflict really boils down to a difference in opinions and preferences, both of which come from people. To be in ministerial leadership means to navigate the messy relationship of leader and congregation, and learning to differentiate between what is a mountain to die on and a molehill to get over. But why is there conflict? Shouldn't God's people always agree on everything? Well, yes and no. Well, there's two questions to ask with regards to any conflict. First, is this a sin issue? By sin issue, I mean, is this conflict between doing what is right and wrong? Is this a matter of doctrine and theology, of holiness or disobedience to God and Scripture? And the second question, is this a preference issue? Preferences are informed by our environments, experiences, and our expectations. Now, these are not inherently sinful or holy, though some people would like to make them appear that way. A preference is simply a greater liking for one alternative over another or others. As ministerial leaders, learning to distinguish between these two types of conflict is a lifelong pursuit. And trust me, practice will make perfect. From the beginning of Genesis, there is conflict between man and woman, man and God, God and the devil and humanity. You could argue that Scripture is one long story of how God resolves the conflict of sin and righteousness between himself and humanity through Jesus Christ. The Bible has many stories of conflict, of man rebelling against God, siding with the devil, and those consequences. But there are also stories of man siding with God, battling against the devil and his angels, and those consequences. In Joshua chapter 5, verses 13 through 14, we read about how Joshua, the successor of Moses, is standing looking at the promised land of Israel, their almost newly reclaimed homeland. Once, when Joshua was by Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing before him with a drawn sword in his hand. "Are you one of us, or one of our adversaries?" The man replied, "Neither, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." And Joshua fell to his face to the earth and worshipped. And he said to him, "What do you command your servant, my Lord?" Joshua has a choice as to how he is going to handle all the conflicts that would come from his leadership role. He can either do it God's way or his way. And here's the funny thing about conflict. How we go about resolving conflict reveals more about ourselves than we're ever really comfortable with knowing. Conflict both shapes and reveals character. Our hope is that as you watch the following 5 interviews, you will decide to look at conflict as an opportunity, because hopefully you'll learn that ministry comes in, through, and from conflict. I'm Taylor Drake. Blessings.